I tend towards being a pretty confident, go make things happen kind of gal.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what my desire and need for safety was, this emotional safety. In the last month or so, the way that he holds space for me for my own storms, which, absent of him, I have my way of dealing. I'm solid. I'm good. But when I have a partner that allows me to really express more of the depth of what's going on in my spirit, it allows for a deepening of trust and connection in a way that I never knew was possible.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. Stick around for this entire episode because we've got some very special guests with us today. We have Gary, the Gentle Warrior, who's been in the community for TPM and involved in the movement for many, many years, and his lovely partner, Heather, are going to be with us. And we were just out at lunch yesterday, and we had a conversation topic. We thought, you know what? The men need to hear this. So stay tuned to this whole episode. I think you're going to get some gold. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's been great having you guys in town and a chance to meet my family, which is always very important to me, of course. And just seeing a powerful couple like yourselves, they're doing the work, probably perfectly imperfect like all of us.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But you get it. You dust yourself off and you get back up and you keep pushing forward. And it's just so great to see you guys together.
Yeah, it's so good to be with your family for lunch. And of course, Steve and Robin for dinner the night before. So really good to be here. And I wanted to really bring Heather into my TPM world. That's really why we're here.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad
Me
you
too.
did. Well, we were having an interesting conversation. I think the guys are really going to like this, and it was around trust. Why don't you take it away and talk about some of the ideas of the conversation as we were going through that?
Yeah, it was kind of, and I posted into the general channel a while back a lengthy post, which I don't do a lot of lengthy posts. Most of the guys will recognize me from my gym photos, just being accountable for my health and stuff. But this topic of honesty in relationships and the need to be honest in relationship. And as I look, having been in the movement for almost 3 years now, I guess, and seeing guys in the brotherhood even and even in the inner circle that are having a hard time being honest with their spouses for a variety of fear, whatever, holding them back. And so they're not stepping to the line. And I had a couple of, I guess, epiphanies or examples recently, and which caused me to think what just happened here. And it was like, okay, it's honesty first with myself about who I am, what I need in relationship, and just owning that and saying and being okay with those needs. It's like, I don't need to be ashamed of those needs. I don't need to be embarrassed. I don't need to be afraid to communicate those needs, or I can be afraid, but first owning it and being honest with myself, and then communicating to my partner, which is often the harder part. It can be as equally hard. And so I posted and said how, when I am honest with myself and then I'm honest with my partner, my relationships get stronger. The ones that are not going to work separate out.
Yep.
They separate out, and that's okay. And it may hurt, but it's okay, because when I came into the Powerful Man, I had relationships from the nice guy status in my life, right? And I entered in my marriage. I entered into marriage as a nice guy, and when I started learning and growing and realizing who I was and what I needed, and then having the courage to communicate that, and this is key. We can have fear, but in spite of fear, be courageous and communicate and let the chips fall where they may, and that's when the fun starts.
Absolutely.
That's when the fun really starts.
Yeah.
The way people react, it attracts some, it repels others. Some people like pause, wait and see, but I would rather be in relationships that are attracted and pulled towards that. Those relationships are going to be much easier to engage in and maintain over the long haul than one that I chase or hold something back. I'm not fully honest for whatever reason. I'm like, I don't know if I want to share that. And then I got to kind of keep it together. There's this energy of kind of trying to bind it all together. So that was the genesis of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys are scared. They're worried about the rejection that they might get from their partner. Since it's guys we're talking about, we have a lot of women that listen to this, but what is she going to think of me? Or if I share this with her, is she going to reject me? And some guys will hold back to the point where they'll go, you know what, I can't talk to her about wanting to do this in the bedroom or that, so therefore I'll go out and have an affair instead, or therefore I'll just get divorced, rather than actually having the courage to have that conversation. Now, Heather, for you, what is it like being with a man like Gary who knows what he wants, is confident enough to at least have that conversation and initiate that conversation? So
I often say this to him, it's so wonderful to be two naked souls together.
Yeah, beautiful.
The degree of connection that we have is something that often brings us to like this personal rapture that's shared and to tears, honestly. And it is a spiritual experience to be partnered with a man like him.
Yep. No, which is actually great. And it's so rare. So with that being said, I love that idea of two naked souls, so to speak, being together. With that being said, you know, when you guys do have those conversations, is it a relief that he's sharing what he wants to share, or is there trepidation involved?
It's a relief. I know where he stands, so I know how to engage. I get to make my choices of how I want to interact with that, but there's no guesswork of, oh, is there something going on underneath? Is there something that he means that I need to figure out and respond to instead of what he's presenting? Like, no, I know exactly where he is, and that brings a lot of comfort. And this gets us to that safety that women. I poo-pooed this for a long time, but safety in relationships and emotional safety as a woman with a man is a thing. If I know you, if I know what you're presenting is your truth, I am safe because I have something solid to work with. So to bring that background, yes, it's relieving.
Yeah.
Comforting.
I hear that often. And, you know, my wife and their girlfriends are always talking about the fact that, you know, so many people out there give a false representation. Like they show you what they think you want to see versus the real you. And Gary, you said something that I really resonate with, and because I was in that nice guy syndrome for so long. But what I realized is when I was authentically me, the people that stuck around were people I enjoyed more.
Yes.
Right? They were quality people.
Yes.
And not everybody agreed with the changes or what have you, but open-minded people tended to be like, okay, like we can work with this. Let's find out.
Yes.
And people who like resonated with truth and honesty and integrity, which are values I have, they doubled down. And those people that were on the periphery just kind of washed off, if you will.
Yeah, I'm experiencing the same thing. Yeah. And what you see is what you get. That's kind of like my authentic self. This is me. There's no mask. There's, you know, I am more prone now after having been in TPM for a couple of years to overcoming the fear and say, this is what I want and need. And, you know, and I'm not using that as a hammer. I'm not using that as an ultimatum. No. I'm just sharing my heart. It's really sharing my heart, right?
Yes.
And that's vulnerability that can be rejected. It can be, you know, a variety of reactions can happen. But when I do that, and those people that matter in my life, they embrace it.
Yeah.
They don't have to agree with me 100%, but they love me anyway. They love me for who I am.
It's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
And what your experience is what I would define as, when we call it the powerful man, that's the power. It's the inner power. It's not the beating with a hammer. It's a gentle love of being so grounded in who you are that you actually love yourself enough to present it to the world.
Yeah.
And say, hey, here's me. I'm going cold dipping in the pond. Let's go.
You know, the love of self is tied right in. Actually, it's funny you mention that because that was also in that same post about honesty with myself, and it ties into the love of self. You know, I grew up in a Christian community, and one of the things that I had heard was the acronym for JOY was Jesus first, others second, yourself last. always last, always a servant leader, serve, sacrifice, And is it any wonder why, as a nice guy, always put other people first, And what I've come to realize is that, in the Bible it talks, the Jews were asking Jesus, said, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment?" And he says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength." And the second commandment is like it: love your neighbor as you love yourself. Mm-hmm. In the church, it was like, love God, love others. We just overlook this: love yourself, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So that triggered that memory. So I put that in the post, and it got a lot of response. I put it on Facebook. I got more response than I've ever gotten. I had people like, "Gary, are you okay? What's going on?" Then I just said, my relationships are getting better. I'm getting stronger. My relationships are getting better. My impact is getting bigger because I'm my true, authentic self. And I did a meditation a little while back, a guided meditation on healing, just physical healing, because my shoulder, just trying to manifest healing. And it's one of the parts of the meditation was like, ask your heart, go to your heart. What's your heart saying to you? And on this one particular morning, what did it say to me? My heart said to me, "I love you." My heart said to me, "I love you." And that was just like, wow.
Yeah. It would bring tears to my eyes.
Yeah. It was powerful. Yeah. And it brought tears to my eyes. And I shared that with Heather. Mm-hmm. And she likes how I love myself.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
Please.
So this self-love is so important. I've had experiences in other relationships where the man does not love himself, and putting others first in a way that is like trying to serve so hard that he becomes depleted, and then can't do the things within the household that are needed. And then that puts more on me. And it's like, no, if you would please love yourself first, take care of yourself first, so that you can then also take care of us and me. It would go a lot better. So to be with someone who does love himself and takes care of self first, he has so much more to offer to me and to the world. And it's a really lovely experience to be partnered.
Well, I also see it, Heather, with the guys. I was talking to a guy earlier today, but guys that put others first then become super needy, like because they need someone to fill them up. Yes. And then they chase their partner around like, you should be doing this. You should be doing that for me. All the sacrifices I make, when really it's just them depleting themselves, and doing what we call horse trading.
Yeah.
Like I'll try to make you happy, but in return, instead of me just doing it because I want to, you have to make me happy. And that never works out.
It never works out. It never works out. If your cup is empty because you're pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, not loving yourself, not taking care of yourself, not being honest with yourself that I do need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I do need to take care of myself. This is, this is my priority. Going back to that example from church, I still believe Jesus is my first relationship. My second priority is me.
Yeah.
And if I take care of those two, priority one and priority two, and my cup is full, I can pour out and I can sacrifice and I can do all these things in a sustainable way, as long as my cup is getting filled, as long as I'm taking that time to myself daily and really just being okay. It's okay to take care of myself. That's not selfish.
Yeah.
That is not it's necessary. My immediate world needs me to take care of myself, to have the energy, to have a full cup, because they need me.
Yeah. One of the guys pulled me aside and said, "Doug, you take in nice guys and make them great men." Right.
Beautiful.
And where I go with that, because, Robert Glover's got the No More Mr. Nice Guy book, where that was, I think that term was coined. I want to give him credit as much as I can. And like the guys that come into the TPM movement are the give their shirt off your back type of guys.
Yes.
Like they are great people, really nice. And they are nice guys, but they've used that almost as not a victimhood, but at least I've used it in the past as kind of an identity that didn't serve me or anybody else. And you take that same good-naturedness and you give it to a grounded man. He becomes grounded, knows who he is. You get a whole different product.
Absolutely. Yeah. One that is going to provide so much strength, so much support, so much safety. Safety. and that's a key thing that we've talked about a lot of times. And it's much easier to do. From my standpoint, I can do that when I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
If I'm always thinking about other people, always pouring out and depleting myself, I can't be there forever. That light is going to dim. It's going to run out of gas. It's going to run out of fuel, and it's going to dim. And it's going to sputter, and it will get noticed when it goes out.
Yeah, and then you're no longer safe.
No, I am not safe.
Yeah. We use the analogy of the lighthouse, right? And so, if a man is a lighthouse and his partner's the ship at sea, when she's looking for safe shore, and she's going to the shore because it's getting turbulent out there in the ocean, so to speak, in the world or her life, and the lighthouse goes out, well, she can't trust that lighthouse anymore, right? Because it's not continuously on. And that's usually guys not filling their own cup or getting triggered or having immature responses.
Going into deer mode, right? They react to something versus just be calm and let those waves crash again. You see that picture of the lighthouse in France with the waves smashing up against the guy. He's like shuts the door at the last minute, right? It's like, but it still stands. It takes that storm. It takes the test. It holds up. And I find myself after having been in this movement for close to 3 years, like I said, it's like I'm not perfect. I got to get my reps in. But as I do it, I get the resiliency, and I learn and I grow and I can start to see what's going on. It's like, okay, I got this interaction right here, but let's zoom out a little bit. This is what's going on. This is the masculine and feminine colliding, as Tim would say, or interacting. And this is my lighthouse moment right now in this interaction.
And it's a privilege.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
When we're talking about trust, will you say something, Heather?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to speak to that a little bit of that lighthouse moment. And I tend towards being a pretty confident, go make things happen kind of gal.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize what my desire and need for safety was, this emotional safety. And in the last month or so, the way that he holds space for me for my own storms, which, absent of him, I have my way of dealing. I'm solid. I'm good. But when I have a partner that allows me to really express more of the depth of what's going on in my spirit, it allows for a deepening of trust and connection in a way that I never knew was possible. And so I guess my encouragement is that there's so much available here, and it's not because a woman is weak or she's just so emotional and she needs a man to catch her. Like, no, there's such a deepening of trust and connection that can happen when he's able to hold this kind of space.
100%. Yeah. I think you'll see that across the board that, and somebody asked me this one time, for the powerful man, do you guys put down women? It was essentially, I was like, no, we're a bunch of guys that love women. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
We support the women, and all of us tend to attract or be attracted to very powerful, strong women as well. So I love that you added that in. Thank you.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on that a little bit, I remember we were in Belize and we had a moment, and I said, Heather, you've got so many women that you hold space for with clients, friends, whatever. I said, but who's got you? And I said, I do.
He said, you do.
And
I fell apart.
That's beautiful.
And we've had several moments where I could see she's a little tender, and I says, you're tender, aren't you? And she was, yeah. I said, tell me what's going on. And I just hold her and listen, and she trusts me to be vulnerable and it's okay to fall apart. It's okay to let go, and just let go and trust that I've got you.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt this episode, but the reality is if you are watching or listening to this right now, then you are looking to better yourself. And I applaud you. You're one of my people. And I want to give you the opportunity of taking massive action. So if you haven't joined the activation method yet, it's our flagship program. Do what thousands of other businessmen just like you have done and take action. Be one of the 1%ers that actually does the work and takes action. There'll be a link in the description that'll take you right to a page that'll just give you more information. There is no obligation. Just go check it out and see if it's a good fit for you. All right, let's get back to this episode.
It's not to say that I've been with men who just couldn't tolerate me being emotional. No, it's not that. But I've always felt like I'm the one who is more emotionally aware, more emotionally expressive. And so the burden of holding together my own emotionality has always been mine, which if I'm on my own is fantastic. I want to have that skill. But if I'm going to experience real, true partnership, not just a relationship, but partnership where we really are in that interdependent way of being, it does take this kind of space holding. And I'm really, really grateful for what it's allowed me to experience.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. It is. Yeah.
I almost feel bad about going back to the trust topic now.
Well, she's definitely trusting me with her emotions. So to tie it in, she
Yeah.
definitely feels safe, and for me to hold her as she falls apart, so to speak. You know, in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's clear, like for somebody who's been working with people for decades now, you spend 30 seconds with you guys and it's clear to see how dynamic your relationship is, right?
Yeah.
And you can just pick it up right away. You just have great energy together. And so we're going back to the idea of this trust and why guys don't share things with their partners. Obviously, you guys do share things, and so you're showing, hey, this is what's possible on the other side,
Yes.
right? Not only that, in my experience with my wife, who you guys met, Erin,
Yes.
Intimacy goes through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot more fun you can explore.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see that with the men too. The guys that are in the movement that finally go, okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna tell her what I'm interested in. And what's funny to me is these guys have this preconceived notion, it's almost a Madonna complex that their partner, she would never want to do that or what have you. And I'm just talking about in the bedroom right now.
Right. Okay.
But
yeah.
we can expand it anywhere else.
Right.
And I would say if he's showing up as the way that she thinks he could, providing that safety, right, for her, but also she's feeling seen and heard in the relationship. So let's just say that things are going decently well.
Yeah.
In my experience, I'm almost going to say 100% of the time that I know a guy has brought up something that he'd like to try, he's usually shocked at how willing and able and ready his partner is.
Love it.
And was. My wife would say, like, if you had any idea what these ladies talk about.
True story.
Yeah.
I've seen some texts between her and her girlfriends. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I always say, like, guys, 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, how many copies did that sell?
Right.
And that's not about, a very conservative a couple getting together.
And I would say to the guys in the movement, when we honestly put those requests out there, it's not manipulation. Don't do it in a manipulative. It's the energy with, hey, this is just me. This is my honest self. I am really curious about this. What would you think? Just having that don't put anything on it. Just putting out there and letting it be. And like
A gentle offering of what you're interested in.
hey, what do you think?
Might
Hey,
want
what do you
to
think?
explore.
Yeah, hey, what do you think about this? He goes, yeah, maybe. Let me think about it. And it may not happen immediately, but I've been thinking about that, and I'd like to try that. So but had I not put that out there, I mean, who knows if or when it would have come up. Right.
Have you guys filled out the yes/no sheet that I put out there in the community? It's a long time ago.
Yeah, we did one. I don't think it was yours, but there was a few of them online. But we did one. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. So he says yes. yes. We're all in agreement.
So select all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and we did that on a trip to. I think we're in Spokane actually. Yeah, and we. I think that's when it was. We filled or Coeur d'Alene, whatever. We filled it out, and we were surprised. Okay, hey, we got a lot in common that we can work with, and there's a lot of maybes that we could talk about more, and there's some hard no's, so which is cool. It's a nice punch list of topics to follow up on from time to time. We're not going to be bored.
No.
We are not going to be bored.
Well, that's what most couples say. I think a lot of couples are surprised. And for those that are not familiar with what we're talking about, it is a list of the one I'm familiar with about, let's just call it 50 things roughly. Right. And a lot of these things are intimacy, like blowjobs or, whatever it may be. And it goes from what some people consider vanilla all the way to off the charts for a lot of people. Right. And the idea here is you both have this sheet and it has the name. I'm just going to use blowjob as the example. It'll say yes, no, or maybe. Like that's no is never going to happen. Maybe's like, yeah, maybe.
Right.
And yes is obviously yes.
Right.
And so the idea for everybody listening is you both you guys fill this out and then you switch and you look at each other's and you kind of compare and contrast.
Yeah.
In fact, guys, if you want that, just email vip@thepowerfulman.com. We'll get you a copy of this so you can share with your partner. That's vip@thepowerfulman.com. And somebody will get it for you.
Yeah, I highly recommend just doing that exercise with your partner, and just it's a safe thing to do, and it's just like you could end up getting a reaction.
I had a few with
but really a great conversation. I had my roommate in Prague. We were chatting about this, and he's got a great relationship with his wife and stuff. But we were talking about that list. He goes, maybe that's my next level of growth in my relationship, is to just have this kind of a conversation with her, and I think things were going great for him. But hey, new ideas, possibilities, and yeah.
She may also be nervous about having the conversation, right? Society, especially for women, makes women has made women feel, I think, a lot of times that they can't have this. Like if they start talking about what their needs and desires are, that they'll be looked down upon,
right.
And this could be a great open door where she's like, I've seen a lot of guys that had theirs filled out and they're like, Doug, she put yes on darn near everything.
I'm scared.
Yeah. Get the electrolytes.
Yeah.
Like, hydrate, buddy. You're going to need it.
Yeah.
But it fosters that communication. And to you guys' point, if there's a maybe or a yes or a no that you weren't aware of, again, now you can have a deeper conversation of why is that a no or a yes or a maybe for you, and what does this look like, and what are the boundaries between some of
there's
these
the safety in that, in those boundaries, and knowing where those no's are and saying, okay, we are not going to go there, but look at all these other things that are available.
And there's quite a bit on that list.
So this whole honesty thing in relationship, it's honest in our sexuality, honest in our communication, honesty in the bedroom. It's just one aspect of honesty in the relationship. And the more honest I am in my relationship with Heather, any other relationship, the better the relationship can be.
Yes.
The better it can be. And the more relaxed I am, because I'm not trying to balance something or trying to manage something because it's out there. It's external to me now. So
the more I trust you and the more comfortable I am and the deeper we go, because I know exactly where you stand. I don't have to guess about anything.
Yeah. I would say when I asked our coaches and our client success team this one time, I said, what percentage of the men that come through the activation method for relationships, one of our entry-level programs, what percentage do you think tell their partner that they're in the program? And they came back and said about 50%.
Interesting.
About 50% don't and 50% do. Now, when I go and ask, because a large percentage of those guys go into one of our one-year programs, the Inner Circle, which you're in, Gary, or the Brotherhood, which you've been in before too, that number goes up to about 80 to 90% communication, that they know they're in a program by this point, right? They've either reconciled and things are going well, typically, or they've decided to part ways.
Right.
But there's been usually a shift. At least their partner knows they're getting up early in the morning, they're doing their alpha rise and shine, and they're getting on these calls several times a week. So they've picked up a shift in the energy. But it's always interesting to me to see that shift, right? Like how does that conversation go, and why did you not trust to have that conversation sooner?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes they know it's going to be a money issue, or the spouse that is going to fight back, push back, test, control, whatever it is, and when a man starts to make a change of any kind, joining a powerful man, whatever, oftentimes there's resistance. There's a dynamic that's been created, and not a comfortable one, but it's there, and something's got to give. Man makes the moves, and sometimes there's resistance, so inertia or just flat out resistance. So,
which makes sense, because if I was the partner in that situation and my other partner hadn't showed up confidently, had been making bad decisions, I had to step in and take the leadership role. things aren't going well, right? And all of a sudden they start spending time, spending money. There's a natural reaction to that. Like, hey, you haven't stepped up in the last 7 years. Why are you making me think you're going to step up now? It's going to be another thing you're not going to follow through on. All of these, I see your reaction. All of these stories coming through, like, sure. It's kind of like, hey, tomorrow I'm going to go running, and tomorrow just never comes.
I joined the procrastinator support group. We haven't met yet, but we're talking about it.
It's exactly what it is. So no wonder they get it. And then to your point, it's safety, right? We call them safety tests now. We used to call them shit tests, but we call them safety tests.
Is it officially shifted over now? Is that more or less?
Well, it just makes sense. It's a better terminology for it.
Less negative.
Well, but also the test is really hey, am I safe here? Is this relationship safe? Yeah. And we get that all the time. As you can imagine, all of a sudden the men come through the program, they make a dramatic shift. And now they're starting to take care of their health. They're taking care of themselves. They're starting to communicate to their partner in a way that she can understand. She's starting to feel heard for the first time. And, what men don't get is a lot of times their wives have closed their heart at this point because they've been hurt so many times. Yep. And then she's like, oh, there he is. And then she's going to have this coiling effect of like, wait, I don't want to get hurt again. Yeah. Is this real? Let me poke and see if this is going to stick around. Yeah. Yeah. And when men pass the safety tests, it's a whole nother world that opens up for them.
When you know that that's what's going on, and you zoom back out and you zoom back out from the current situation when you're being tested, and you can say, this needs to happen. She needs to test me, and I need to pass this test. I need to be solid. I need to be the lighthouse. I need to be consistent. I need to not react going to deer mode. As tough as it is right now, because she's really poking. Yeah. And if I can have the emotional and be wise, and emotional wisdom and intellect to get through that and be solid over time, you do the reps, she's going to learn to trust you.
Yeah. And it starts with trusting yourself, right? Yeah. That's where you're talking about getting to know yourself and loving yourself.
Yes.
When you love yourself, it's so much easier to trust yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And not beat the crap out of yourself for making mistakes, because you're going to. Yep. Welcome to the human existence, right?
Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to beat yourself up anymore, guys. You're going to make mistakes. And when you do, you're going to give yourself grace. You're going to love yourself. And you're going to say, okay, that was a learning opportunity. I'm going to do better next time. And I'm not going to give up. And I'm not going to recoil and say, oh, give up and I'm out kind of thing. And I've had that internal reaction.
Oh, we all have.
I said, this isn't working. I don't want to do this, And in spite of that, stay in the game, stay with it. And over time, the reps, the it's resilience, emotional and resilience to this, and realizing that it will work over time. It will.
What works, and I was talking to somebody earlier today, a guy I was working with, and it's become who he is. It's his identity. And I told him, the difference is you're believing it now.
Yeah.
You're believing it. And now because you're believing it, your partner, his wife, is believing it. And he goes, yeah, it's starting to work. I go, dude, I believe it. I believe this is who you are. And you always have been. We've just kind of chiseled away the BS.
Yep.
If not anything else.
Right.
And then those safety tests, I liken them to being like in a dojo. Right? You get to practice. And it makes you stronger, and it makes her feel like more in partnership. Like, if she does crumble, she can catch you, right? And then when that partnership's there, that gives you permission, Gary, to crumble, right? Yeah. Because you have both now have that security, and you can catch him.
Yes. And truly, if he didn't show me those vulnerabilities, if he doesn't ever crumble, then that would also make my trust suck back, because I'm like, I know you're a human. I know you're going to have hard times. If you don't share that with me, if you don't show that with me, then you're not being vulnerable. You're not actually open. I don't actually know you, so I'm not safe.
Yeah.
I really like that point.
Yeah.
You mentioned that gap. Remember about the gap of say if I'm being vulnerable and you're not.
Oh yeah. Then we're on a plane like this, and then we're not really in that partnership where we're interdependent. You are always above me in some way.
Yeah.
That's not intimate.
No.
That's not partnership and connection.
No.
So
it's fear-based.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like I have to have it together or whatever. I don't, it's for me, my nature, as you know me from my reset, what you see is what you get. My heart is there.
Yes.
And it's people around me feel my heart. They, it's not like I have my heart on my sleeve per se, but I am present. You know what I'm thinking, feeling, and it's authentic. And people for most of my adult life have said, I can count on you. I know you. You know, you're easy to interact with, and so I think that's part of it. And fortunately, I bring that into the relationship, and Heather really values the fact that she knows I have emotions. She has access to my emotions. There's not this vault here. A lot of guys don't know how to get unvaulted, you know. So I would say if there's something you can work on, it's be vulnerable, get in tune with your emotions, know yourself, trust yourself, and be okay with that. Oh, it's not okay to cry. Never let them see you cry. You know, all that. Get rid of those stories. Get rid of those stories and just realize, hey, this is me. This is me right now.
Yeah.
And honey, this is me. And just be me be yourself with your partner.
There's another element here too of so in the Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFP. I got a lot of volatility of emotions, very rich internal experience. When I can see that my partner also has a rich emotional life, I have this sense that he understands me in a way that is more than if he just said, and you know, you speak, you're present, that's great. But if I see that you also have an emotional experience that you're aware of and aware of enough that you can share, then I feel like, we are connected. You understand a bit of what I go through. So that also builds the connection between us.
Yeah, I think what happens from my point of view of just working with thousands of guys at this point is it's a control issue. And the control issue is based on fear. And the guy feels like he needs to keep it all together because will he get rejected if they see the real me? So he puts his representative out there. But he wants to create a space for somebody else to feel that vulnerability, sometimes out of care, but sometimes out of control, be able to control the situation.
Yes.
So Heather, when you did the thing where you had one hand above the other, because people are listening to this audio, I'm trying to describe it. It's always the hardest thing, right?
The unleveling.
You guys should be watching this on YouTube. But when you have one person who's constantly attempting to be over another, that domineering position, not from a natural state, right? But from a state of controlling. They want to control the variables so they look good. And it's really because they're scared and they want to feel safe. And the way they feel safe is by controlling everything they can.
We'll talk about you, and by doing that, we won't be talking about me.
Exactly. Let me solve your problems. What other problems do you have?
Exactly.
And I see it a lot. And those guys turn into extremely needy men. I see that those two things correlate usually, which is ironic, right? You have the guy that needs control, and he also shows up as very needy because when he doesn't have control, he tries to regain the control, and that's because he uses his needy nature to try to do so.
And that guy is not being honest with himself.
Not at all, or with anybody else.
Not being honest with himself, or anybody else. I agree.
And the partner to that man is miserable.
100%.
Oh, you want to control what I do, and then I'm supposed to make you feel better about yourself?
Yep.
That's not a good place to be.
No. And then the guys wonder, like, yeah, you know, she doesn't seem to be interested in having any sex with me. Or anything. Like, oh, geez, shocker.
She doesn't seem happy. Wonder why.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We just did an alpha reset here, which, Gary, you've been to one of those events.
Amazing experience.
We did that 3 years ago. Was that 3
It
years
was
ago?
November 22.
Okay.
Yep. November 22. Yep.
So I just had a couple guys we had 10 guys here at the ranch, the TPM ranch. And that was a common thread amongst a lot of these guys. They were trying to figure out why their marriages won't work, what wasn't happening. And they've never touched their heart. I wouldn't say never, but these guys were so in their heads and so closed off. An amazing group of guys. And it's usually the way this happens. And I'm explaining it. Look, you've seen it happen, Gary.
Yeah.
But for Heather, they come in and they're thinking their way out of the situation rather than actually dropping down. And man, when they drop down, you see their eyes start to sweat as we talk about.
I sweat now just remembering it.
Tears in their eyes, and you just see that's when they get their full power. They start looking at each other in the eyes. They start recognizing the power that they have within inside them. And they also recognize, oh my gosh, like it fills them up. And I think a couple of them got it this time. Wow, this is what my wife's been missing.
Yeah.
And I do believe that usually their partner sees their greatness in them and can't call it forward. And that's frustrating for her as well.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah. I can imagine it would be. I see it all the time, and I want to strangle them. So
A smart man, and they're in their heads. We are in our heads, and we say when we're in our head, we're dead, right? And but when we're in our hearts, every man in that room in a reset has pain, has suffered, has fear, has shame, has anger, has all these things. The heart is there, and to avoid all those things, where do we go? Up here in our head.
Yeah.
And we rationalize, we think, and we spend most of our time there. And boy, when I came out of that reset, my heart was 10 times its size. The chains of anger and shame that I had no idea that I was carrying had bound my heart up. And I still had a big heart, but it was bound up. And boy, when those were cut, my heart just was 10 times its size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to see. I mean, these guys are amazing guys. And my wife comes the last day, as you guys know, and I wait. She's like, hey, do you want me to come on the last day? And I was like, I don't know yet, because I don't introduce my family to people. I think men that are in their heads that are not trusting and controlling and haven't figured out their emotions, how to release their anger in a healthy way and just stuff it down, they're the most volatile. And I just won't have them near my kids or my wife until they drop down. And so there was one guy in particular finally got it, as I like to say, and I just sent her a text. I'm like, okay, come Thursday.
Awesome.
You're
that's
in.
Great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a safety thing. And the guys just don't realize that, right? Because they haven't learned to trust themselves, trust the process, and actually get to know themselves at a deep level.
Yeah, absolutely. So important to know thyself and love thyself.
Yes.
Yep. And then from that outflow is just honesty in relationships and better relationships and
what we feel and hear is what we reflect into the world, and then that's what comes back to us. And when you actually have a real wealth of self-love within you, the experiences and people that then come into your life, because that's what you're putting out, is exceedingly rich.
Yeah.
And then you also get to manifest and attract a partner that's doing the same, and it's the most amazing experience in life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so beautiful seeing you guys together, and I've known Gary for only 3 years, but I feel like a brother. So to see him and you two come together, it warms my heart. So thank you both for being here, for doing the work that you guys both continue to do, and for being, both of you guys, being lighthouses out there in the world to show people what's possible. I think you're going to touch a lot of souls while you do that.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Doug.
you.
Thanks for having us. It's been great to be here. And thank you for TPM and for all the work that you do with the men and really amazing, honorable thing you got going on here.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, as we always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. I'm going to recommend you guys rewind that, start over. Both Gary and Heather just drop a lot of knowledge. And guys, if you're not watching this on YouTube, go over there because you can see these two together. It's undeniable, the love, the energy that they have for each other. And like I said, like my wife and myself, we're always doing the work. It's not a destination. The journey itself is the destination. But it got to start with a single step. You have to take action. And if you don't want to join TPM, that's great, but do something. Do something today. Don't go from one podcast to another. I used to do that. Go and take some massive action. Write down what you want to do. Get the yes, no, maybe list. It's simple. All you have to do is email the VIP@thepowerfulman.com. They'll send it to you. Print out 2 copies. Leave it on your wife's desk if you want to, or on her bedside, or better yet, sit down and have a conversation with her about it. Have an honest conversation. You're adults, and most of you guys have kids, so you figured it out somehow. But this is your chance to do it again and just have that conversation. And we're just talking about intimacy here, like intimacy in the bedroom. But intimacy starts way before that, guys. As most of you know, it starts way before. And so you got to take action now so you can get where you want to go. And I know all of you guys don't want sex. You want passionate, connected sex with a partner, with somebody you want to enjoy life with. And this is your opportunity to learn from 2 people who are doing on this path together, having an amazing life together, and use them as role models. We'll see you next time on the TPM Show.